Well, hello and welcome to today's episode of Need I Say Myrrh, the Christmas podcast. And today I am delighted to be joined by Richard Pennington. Hello, Richard.
Hi, Adam. It's good to be with you again. Nice to see you and talk with you. I'm Richard Pennington. I'm a retired solicitor in West Norfolk. Live in Dersingham, just about a mile away from Sandringham, where the King goes at Christmas. And I'm an elder of our local church. And I love Christmas, more importantly.
Well, that's a good characteristic for someone on this podcast. Occasionally, we've had people who don't like Christmas, which is a bit different, but it's good. And you are wearing a festive jumper today, which is good.
I am indeed. It says still room for pud on it, so there we are. But and it used to have a button you could press, but it doesn't work anymore. I've had it for too many years, but there we are.
Okay, well, we'll be getting on to food a bit later on. What's Christmas going to look like in your church this year?
We've got a carol service on the 15th, and on the 22nd, I'm doing a production around primary schools around West Norfolk, 22 schools, called Generate. The theme is about Christmas and don't leave Jesus out of Christmas. And we're doing that production on the 22nd in lieu of another service. It's about half an hour. So then I suppose I'll have a carol to start with, and my favourite carol, which I'll tell you about later at the end. And then some mince pies. So that's what we're doing on the 22nd. We don't have a service on Christmas Day unless it falls on a Sunday. We just never have. Some people think we shouldn't. I'm quite happy not to have a service. I can do not. Sometimes we go to another local church. Sometimes we go and see family, whatever.
Yeah, and it is. You were saying a bit before we started recording about that thing you're doing in 22 schools, which sounds like a really exciting opportunity. And it's good to hear from a few people on this podcast of things that are happening in schools locally. A great time to be involved in sharing the good news of Christmas with children and to sharing the joy of that. So we'll start with the first question, which I'm asking all the guests on this podcast. What is your favourite Christmas decoration?
My favourite Christmas decoration is the star I put up on top of the Christmas tree to remind us that it's the real meaning of Christmas all about Jesus, and they worship, they see the star in the sky that draws the wise men to see him. So we've got a star which is a bit battered now, but was quite large at one point, and put on the top of the tree.
So that's a star you've had for quite a while then?
Probably about 30 years, one way or another. I'm mean, you see, so tend not to buy. We buy a few more baubles, which every year because my wife likes to, but the star we keep from year to year. So.
Okay, so you keep not so much for sentimental reasons, but just for financial reasons.
I pretend outside this podcast that it was for sentimental reasons, but there's always an element of finance about it as well, isn't there? That's why I've been able to retire so early as a solicitor. But there we are.
Okay, well. We'll keep it just between ourselves and the listeners of this podcast. We won't let anyone else know. And so your Christmas tree beyond that. So you've got the star, you've got a few baubles. Do you go for a particular kind of look or aesthetic with your Christmas tree, or is it just kind of a random assortment?
Well, fairly real tree. Lots of tinsel, lots of lights. Probably 2 sets of lights going around. Some tinsel, lots of baubles. As the grandchildren have got slightly older, we had to sort of lower them and now raise them a bit because otherwise they're all within range, and the whole tree can be pulled around. When our children were young, we used to have a fire guard that we used to guard the tree to stop them getting near. And we used to put it in the play pen that the children had, but to keep them away from the tree, which is a bit strange when you have this wonderful thing for the children, which you then don't want them to get too close to. But there we are.
Yes.
And then on Christmas Eve, we put the presents by the tree. It's the usual.
Yeah, I think that's quite a common pattern, isn't it, to put the presents near the tree? There's that question of what strategies people use to keep children away from the tree and away from presents. We just hope for the best. I don't think we've actually really employed any particular methods. The next question is, what's your least favourite festive food?
Well, ironically, because notwithstanding my jumper, which says still room for pud, Christmas pudding I don't really like. Never have liked Christmas pudding. So
okay.
We tend to avoid it, and I've spotted Dick instead, which is much nicer. Let everyone else have Christmas pudding, but I don't like it particularly. So I don't know what it is. I think it's when I was a boy, my father used to put a silver sixpence in the Christmas pudding, and if you ate it, you might find the silver sixpence. And I once had 2 or 3 portions desperately after this, and in the end, I think my father got another one, because otherwise I wouldn't stop eating the Christmas pudding because I hadn't been successful. Gone to my brother in the first case. So maybe I ate too much Christmas pudding as a young man or young boy, so I overdid it perhaps.
So you don't hide any money in your
No, it was just an old family tradition. The old silver sixpences that families used to have.
So then, what would be the highlight for you for your Christmas dinner?
I think my favourite is the turkey cooked properly. I always do the turkey, always have done since we got married 30 odd years. So I'm the cook at Christmas time, and cooking it upside down so all the juices go down into the breast. So when you then turn it up at the end, it's so nice, lovely, and juicy and slices wonderfully well. So that's what I really like with the other trimmings.
That's a good tip for people listening. Turn your turkey upside down, and it'll improve the flavour. Thank you, Richard. Be good now to talk a bit about your Christmas Eve
Yes.
and what your Christmas Eve traditions are.
Well, it depends who's there. I mean, we used to sometimes play a game, which in theory brought harmony, but often brought disharmony, depending on who was winning and who didn't win and who decided they wouldn't play anymore. I think what I quite like to do, and now these days you can watch it whenever you like, is to watch It's a Wonderful Life, which in my view is the best Christmas. I know people have views about the Muppets Christmas Carol, but seeing a nice Christmas film is what I really like to do. Sometimes the year before last, the local parish church had a crib service on Christmas Eve that was absolutely jam packed, about 400 people. The village church packed out. There was one or two carols and some songs from Frozen, and not too much about Jesus really. But there we are.
The songs from Frozen are good. Like I'm a big fan of Frozen.
Oh, I agree.
I wouldn't put it quite on the same level as the good news of Jesus.
I think you're right. Yeah.
But you did mention anticipate my potential objection to your favourite film of the Muppet Christmas Carol. What are your thoughts on the Muppet Christmas Carol?
I love the Christmas Carol. I first read it when I was at junior school, when I was 11. Our old-fashioned teacher, before Christmas, he always read the Christmas Carol. We read it as a class when I was in year 6, I suppose it's these days. And it was just his tradition. And I remember reading it and being enraptured by the story. And I've seen loads and loads of different versions of A Christmas Carol, some better than others. The Muppet Christmas Carol is all right, but it's not the best version, I don't think.
Okay, yeah, I think that's going to be quite a controversial statement.
Well, I know that puts me in the minority of one on your podcast interviewees, but
yeah. So if Dan James wants to get in touch, remember we do welcome correspondence on this podcast. You can send an email to needisaymyrrh@gmail.com. That's needisaymyrrh@gmail.com. And let us know what you think. Do you have, so when you're sat there on Christmas Eve watching It's a Wonderful Life, do you have a perfect refreshment accompaniment?
I think I would like a Scotch and ginger wine, really, or whiskey mac as it's known. So it's some malt whiskey with some ginger wine. But then, of course, I've got to try and stay awake if the fire's going until the end of the film. But It's a Wonderful Life is a film I've seen so many times I can almost quote the script to you. So but it always brings tears to my eyes right at the end.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm a sentimentalist when it comes to films.
Yes, no, not with stars on your tree, but with films. Yeah, that's good.
Indeed.
We'll come to the final question. And the final question, which we've been waiting in suspense for your answer, and people have been trying to predict what your answer will be. What is your favourite Christmas carol?
My favourite Christmas carol is "O Little Town of Bethlehem." That's because my mum died when I was 9, and I've got very few memories of her because I'm too old. Mm-hmm. But I remember particularly at Christmas reading a Christmas story with her. And which included that carol in it, and we used to sing it together before I went to sleep. And so it's a memory I've got of my mother. Plus, it's got those wonderful lines: "Cast out our sin and enter in, be born in us today." So I think it's a gospel carol, really. So that's what I like about it. And
it is. Yeah, it is a simple carol. It's one that's still sung a lot, even in schools, and an easy one for children to join in with. But as you say, it has good gospel words, and where you have that wonderful line, the hopes and fears of all the years are met in thee tonight. I think that's a wonderful reminder, isn't it, of just how amazing that birth of Jesus was in that little town, in that small place. Actually something that is the climax of history, answering all of our hopes and fears.
That's right.
Is a lovely carol. So how many times do you anticipate singing "O Little Town of Bethlehem" this Christmas?
Probably about 4 or 5, I suspect. I'm leading a couple of services in December when we'll sing it. We'll sing it on the 22nd after I've done our drama production on the 22nd. And I expect we'll sing it if we go to another church service. The other Advent hymn I love is O Come Emmanuel," but we haven't. But that's more of a coming up to Christmas rather than a Christmas carol, isn't it? Really.
Yeah, so one other guest on this podcast has chosen that so far at the time of this recording. So I will allow it if people want to choose it.
All right.
But seeing as you've gone with a different one, that's fine. Anyway, we're also planning because we sing a psalm most weeks here at Literature Mission, and we normally sing them to familiar tunes. Our psalm for December, we normally sing it for a few weeks in a row, will be set to the tune of A Little Town of Bethlehem.
All right.
So we're going to be singing the final bit of Psalm 119. Not going to do the whole psalm. Just going to do the last bit of 119 to the tune of A Little Town of Bethlehem. So we'll see how that goes. By the time this podcast goes out, you'll probably be able to find somewhere on social media what that sounds like. So we'll be singing the tune even more, and we'll be singing the carol just a few times. So there we go.
How do you find that working? Singing? It reminds me of, sorry, I haven't a clue. Singing one tune to the words of another. No, does it seem a bit strange singing anything other than "O Little Town of Bethlehem" to that tune?
Well, I wonder if it might. I so far have resisted using any Christmas tunes for any of the other psalms that we've done. With other psalms, I think I haven't felt it being particularly odd, but quite a few of the tunes we've used are tunes that aren't tied just to one hymn, but are these kind of tunes that appear in a few different places, or that are tunes that for hymns that we don't sing quite so often. So some people in the church will know it, but not so well. So it may be that this will feel a bit different. I'll have to let you know. We'll see. But it does have that "I'm sorry, I haven't a clue" kind of vibe to it, doesn't it?
Yes, it's interesting. "Oh happy day that fixed my choice." "Oh happy day." It's exactly the
Yeah.
same meter as "When I survey the wondrous cross."
There we go.
"When I survey the wondrous cross, on which the Prince of Glory," but it doesn't sound quite right, does it? Really? There we are.
No, it's yeah. I probably won't be going with that, but yeah, it's worth bearing in mind. And if you do that, that's good. Yeah, well, there we go. No, it's been good to hear a bit of your Christmas traditions and what you enjoy doing. And we hope, Richard, that you have a very happy Christmas.
And you as well. Thank you very much.
Ho, ho, ho. Merry Christmas.